Hello and welcome. My name is Eve Esfandiari Deni, and I will be your guide today. Crip Quilt, the artwork you are in front of, is a project made by the artist Jamila Prowse, with fabrication support from Divya Osborne. All of the quilt has been hand-stitched by Jamila and Divya. The 50 squares translate experience in disabled artists' journeys, both Jamila's and those collated from oral histories in the National Disability Art Collection and Archive, and 3 newly collated by Jamila with disabled artists of colour. This is an acknowledgement of a previous gap in NDACA's archive. The work is made in response to NDACA and will become a part of its permanent collection. The patches are smaller, square and rectangular, often not cut into perfect lines and from a mix of different fabrics. They are evenly spaced across the quilt. Many different colours are visible across the materials of the fabric, giving the quilt a very bright and colourful appearance. The patches have multicoloured embroidered messages, statements, reflections and thoughts on them, stitched mostly in capital letters along with illustrations. On sight, it's difficult to tell that the quilt is weighted. It has 2 weighted blankets sewn into the centre, but let me tell you, they are heavy, weighing 16 kilograms. When making the work, it would often take 2 people to carry it, noting the wider interdependency of its creation. The choice to enclose weighted blankets in the quilt is due to their use in managing symptoms of anxiety disorders, autistic burnout, and flare-up, both of which the artist experiences. The title of the work, Crip Quilt, refers to the stitching together of the experience of individual disabled people into one collective voice, as well as the fact that the work was made on Crip time. Crip time refers to a flexibility in time that exists within disabled communities. Across 15 months, Jamila embroidered the squares by hand, mostly from her sickbed, but also on trains, in hotel rooms, during openings and talks. She found that the meditative act of stitch making helped her manage symptoms of her disability and had a soothing effect on her. As an autistic person who experiences noise sensitivity and selective mutism, the sewing also enabled her to exist in public in an unpressurized way while unmasking. Jamila selected quotes from the oral histories and translated them into illustrations, while her own squares take on a diaristic and confessional tone. We invite you in to take a step closer and hear their innermost thoughts on some of what it means to be a disabled artist in, through, around, and beyond disability. After seeing Veronica Ryan's exhibition at Alison Jack's gallery, Jamila was inspired by some of the embroidery Ryan had made on old, used tea bags. This patch mirrors a similar spacing out and cursive writing. To the right is a simple dark dusty patch with fuchsia thread. In chunky outlining writing it reads, "We were really radical for our time." Patterned with dashed and dotted lines that form chevrons in rows vertically across it is a more decorative piece of fabric, found in Jamila's mum's house. Stitched on top is a breakfast tray in brown thread with matching green egg cups and a green plate on top. Below, in very small writing, 2 years ago my mum stopped working and became my carer. Now she's doing the same for my grandma. She supports us, but does the system support her? Another face is stitched with light brown hair and very small high-up ears, but this one's features are obscured by a white mask with holes in the mouth and the eyes.
But I knew how to mask, I knew how to pretend, I knew how to do stuff.
Made up of a square outline, square door, and yellow filled-in square windows, is a simple, quite childish rendering of a building, which is meant to resemble a school. Around it, orange writing spells out
that social model of disability where, you kind of feel disabled in certain spaces, and I kind of really felt that when I started out school.
Similar to the kind you might find carved into a tree is the outline of a red heart, with the words Sam plus Jam stitched into the centre. In baby blue thread are the words, sometimes Sam is caregiver, sometimes care, receiver. Ours is a home of Crip love. Reflecting on her relationship at the time with her partner who suffers from chronic pain, Jamila considers the ebb and flow of care that took place between the two of them. While making the quilt, Jamila's relationship ended, showing how much in her life has changed during the 15-month span of the project. Books piled on top of each other, drawn in slightly haphazardly as coloured outlines of the binding, with tiles written in capitalised embroidery on top. The text above the first set of books reads, "My bookshelf when I was bedbound," with the books Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, Reasons to Stay Alive by Matt Haig, Ill Feelings by Alice Hattrick, and Sanatorium by Abby Palmer. The second text reads, "And after my grandma died." The books in the second pile are A Heart That Works by Rob Delaney, The Year of Magical Thinking by Joan Didion, and Crying in H Mart by Michelle Zorner. Text at the bottom reads, "Reading other people's made me feel less alone." Here, Jamila recreates piles of the books she reads when she was bedbound and after the death of her grandma as a form of comfort. Jamila felt soothed by coming across writers who shared similar experiences. The final sentence on the patch misses out words and could not be added in afterwards due to the lack of space, demonstrating that there are sometimes small mistakes throughout the quilt. Large, slightly 3D, and on one of the biggest patches of the quilt is an embroidered pill packet. The text reads, "I take 3 small pills a day and I'm good," and relates to Jamila coming on to antidepressants for the first time during the making of the quilt. Ironically, at the end of making the quilt, she has found the side effects might be restricting her, and has now started to wean herself off with the advice of her GP. Layered, textured paints in primary colours of red, green, blue, purple and yellow are shown on the outline of an artist's easel, typical to the curved shape you might traditionally imagine a painter holding. Around the easel in blue capitalised font are the words, "When we're just coming into our disability, art is a really lovely way to express and understand what's happening."
When we're just coming into our disability, art is a really lovely way to kind of express and understand what's happening. So some of us tend to cover those themes, and then maybe we stay there, maybe we don't, doesn't matter. But I particularly am not just interested in illness itself. It's just I'm kind of just really inspired by the fact that it changes depending on various social factors.
A dusty dark pink patch is covered entirely with small black capitalised stitched words. They read, "I thought about getting on a train in my black Regina Pio for another stories dress I got on sale, and being able to hold my own at a dinner of fully fledged people. Then I thought about climbing up and having nothing to say or drinking and saying too much. So I stayed home on New Year's Eve. Happy 2023. Made on New Year's 2022, while sat on the sofa, after Jamila was invited to Margate to go to a celebratory dinner with artists, many of whom are much more established than she is. She considered going, even deciding on what to wear, but ultimately felt too nervous to make the trip. Jamila has always been superstitious about cycles such as New Year's, with the idea of starting the year as you mean to go on. In this case, how Jamila spent the night was prophetic of a 2023 in which she has largely been indoors and in bed.